How's everybody doing? I just want to make a quick video today to talk about our exterior accessories in our RV. When we were getting into RVing, I spent a lot of time looking into various different accessories, what might work for us, might not be what works for everybody else. But wanted to give you guys a quick rundown of everything we have and why we think it works well and might be helpful for you as well if you're getting into RVing or looking to upgrade your rig. So the first thing that I'd recommend getting is a EMS surge protector. So the EMS surge protectors are a little bit different from just the regular surge protectors. They are significantly more expensive, but I think it's a worthwhile investment to protect your RV. So just regular surge protectors, all they protect from is a surge of electricity into the RV that might blow out some of your appliances. But the EMS, they protect from a lot more electrical malfunctions, like a lack of voltage, or if the wiring at the stand is wired incorrectly, they'll protect you from that. So we have the Progressive Industries 50 amp, and these do work if you have a 50 amp RV and you're only at a pedestal that only has 30 amp. You can connect a 30 amp dog bone and then plug this EMS surge protector directly into the 30 amp. And then I'd also recommend getting some sort of cable lock or something to lock up the surge protector. We've never had any issues with anybody messing with our stuff at any campgrounds, but like I said, these are pretty expensive. I think this one was either $300 or $400 when we bought it, probably even more expensive now. So you definitely want to have something to keep that locked up, especially if you're going to be away for a long period of time. Make sure nobody messes with your surge protector. And you guys can do your own research into surge protectors as well. I looked into it a lot because originally we were just going to get a regular surge protector. Everybody that I listen to, and I'm not an electronics expert or anything like that, but I listened to a lot of people who were, and they all said that the EMS surge protector was worth the extra investment. So we went ahead and made it just because the last thing you want is end up with thousands of dollars of repairs in your RV. If something goes wrong, your ACs could go out, your fridge could go out, and it could be not able to be repaired. You have to get a brand new one. So I think it makes a lot of sense to invest a little bit more on the front end to make sure you don't have to deal with those problems on the back end. A couple other things I would definitely recommend getting. The first one is they call this a dog bone adapter. So basically what this is there's several different kinds, but it just helps you go from one level of power to another. So either from a 50 amp down to a 30 amp, or from a 30 amp up to a 50 amp. And so some parks or RV parks, you'll find that they only have 30 amps or they only have 50 amps. And if you're in a pinch, you have to stay there for the night. You want to make sure you have the equipment on hand to make sure you can plug in and have power for the evening. So another thing I definitely recommend getting are these little testing devices. So all these are is when you get to your site, you plug these in, you flip on the power, and they've got labels here that'll tell you if it's either wired correctly or incorrectly. And this is just another safeguard you can have to protect the electrical on your equipment. So you don't want to plug into something that might be wired incorrectly, or maybe something happened, there was a storm or something and it's messed up. So we have a 50 amp and a 30 amp, just depending on wherever we're plugged into. These aren't too expensive. If I remember, they're $15, $20 or so. So it's just really easy. Whenever you get to your site, plug these in, flip the power on, and it tells you if it's correct. A few other real basic items, and wherever you're buying your RV from, I imagine most places would give you this. We got all this when we bought our RV. So you're going to want a fresh water hose and a black tank hose. And so fresh water hose is obviously for water in the RV, for your shower sinks, stuff like that. The black tank hose should only be used to flush out your black tank if you have a black tank flush. And all it is whenever you're dumping or you're pulling out, you just take the fresh water out, plug the black tank hose in down here, and that just helps flush the tank out to get all your wastewater out, and so you don't have a bunch of gunk and stuff left in the black water tank while you're driving around. You're also going to want to get a sewer hose. This is a pretty basic sewer hose. I know there are a few different types. And you're also going to want to get kind of like a slinky thing that helps the sewer hose stay elevated so the water flows downhill. It's really hard on the Airstream because they're so low to the ground that you can see we can only kind of get like maybe a few feet. Otherwise, it's just way too high up and the water's not going to flow out. But if you do have like a fifth wheel or another taller RV, they're much easier to get underneath there, and it helps the water and the waste flow down the sewer pipe over to your sewer hookup. So one thing I would recommend too, whatever sewer hose you buy, get something that has a screw on the end that when it fits into the sewer hookup. So you can see here, this has got threads in it, and this has got matching threads on there, and so you can actually screw it in, and this is pretty tight into the sewer hookup there, and so that's not going to come out. And the last thing you want when you're hooked up is you pull your black tank and sewage just starts spilling everywhere. So not all of the sewage hookups at all the RV parks you're at will have this screw-in mechanism, but most will, and so that's always a nice kind of safety feature to have. And you definitely want to make sure you get some sort of water filter. So this is just a pretty basic one. I think these are like 20 bucks. It just screws right onto the faucet here and then onto your hose. Some people have very big, legit water filters that cost hundreds of dollars. We've never had too many issues with this, but the water throughout the country is very inconsistent. So we're down here in Florida right now. Obviously, Florida not known for having great water, and that's true even with this filter. You can still kind of taste it a little bit, but definitely much better with the filter than without. So these are just good to have. It also helps keep your pipes clean in your RV, so you're not building up a ton of minerals or anything else that might be in the water. As many of those don't get in your pipes in the RV. One other thing you're definitely going to need is some sort of block to put underneath your jack. So we just got this. It's called the Ox block. Quite honestly, it's probably way more expensive than we would have needed. If I could go back and do it over again, I would not have bought that. I would have just got some blocks of wood. Those will work perfectly fine. If you want something like that, great. We'll link to it in the description below. But if you're just getting started, I would probably start with just some blocks of wood. I think that's more than sufficient. And then if you really like it, you want to get something a little more sturdy, a little more easy to carry around, maybe you could get that. Two other items on the front hitch here. So we have a hitch lock here. I would definitely recommend getting a hitch lock. Just helps with peace of mind. We have heard stories about people still getting their RVs stolen. Even when they have a hitch lock, people will cut them off, or sometimes they'll just hook the chains up and take it. That's pretty rare, but it's not too expensive, and it's nice to just have something that helps keep your RV a little bit more secure. We also have a cover for our jack. Not absolutely necessary, but it's nice, especially if you're going to be in snowy conditions or if it's raining a lot. Nice to just have that there to make sure no water gets in and your jack is always in work. One thing that's optional, but you might want to get, is some sort of cover for your tires, especially if it's really sunny, really hot. RV tires wear out faster than tires on a vehicle. So we feel it's always best to keep them in as close to new condition as possible. These were fairly cheap, pretty easy to put on, just like a very simple step you can take, especially if it's going to be in storage for a long time, to try to extend the life of your tires a little bit. One thing that I would recommend getting, if you can, is some sort of system to monitor your tire pressure while you're driving down the road. Obviously, if you have a blowout on your trailer, it can be very dangerous, so it's nice to just have something that lets you know if your tires are getting too hot, too low, if you're losing pressure in one, getting too much pressure in another. So what we use is the Tire Minder system. I know there are a lot of different systems out there. We've had pretty good luck with it, not too many complaints. Sometimes it will lose signal, but it usually comes back in a few minutes. And so all it is it's just four or two, if you just have two tires in your RV, little things that screw into the valve stems on the tires. And then it comes with a monitor like this that goes in the car with you, and this will just tell you either the temperature of the tires, the PSI of the tires. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe this can do up to 8 tires. So if you have a dual axle RV, you could do all the wheels on the RV and all the wheels on your tow vehicle. Or if you've got like a triple axle, like big fifth wheel, you could definitely do all the tires on that. These are fairly expensive. I think the cheapest ones are maybe $300-400, and they can go all the way up to $1,000. But I don't regret buying this at all. It's definitely nice, especially if you're somewhere that's very cold, going somewhere that's really hot. You know, those tires heat up. You want to make sure they don't get overinflated or get too hot while you're driving down the road. So it's just nice to have. Definitely something I'd recommend, especially if you're new to RVing. So another thing you're definitely going to need is some sort of chalk system to make sure your RV doesn't roll away, either when it's in storage or when you're at a campsite. The most basic thing you can get are wheel chocks like these. They're plastic, super cheap, obviously pretty simple. Just put one in the back there, on the other side of the wheel, on the other side of the RV. Make sure it can't roll backwards or forwards. One thing that we bought that was an upgrade that we really like are these X chocks. And so these just go in between the wheels, and then there's a bit that goes on a drill here, and when you screw them in, these get tighter or looser. And what these do is they really create a lot more stability, because those wheels aren't able to move at all. Versus if you have the wheel chocks, there's always going to be a little play in it. And so if you're somewhere for a long time, more than a few days, These are definitely worth having. Obviously a little bit more expensive, but we think a totally worthwhile investment for the added stability you get when you're inside the RV. Another thing you're definitely going to need is some sort of way to level the RV. So if you're at a nice campground, most of the time the sites will be level. But if you're on BLM land or campground up in the mountains, something like that, there's a pretty good chance that it's not going to be level. The jack in the front is going to be what levels you forward and backwards, but side to side you're going to have something to level it with. Some of the nicer new RVs do have self leveling, so if you have that, don't worry about it. But most don't, and so the simplest thing you can have are blocks like this, and these will just go underneath the tires. You'll either back up onto them or pull forward on them to get one side of the RV to be higher than the other. Another option is a leveling kit like this. And so all this is you'll take the it's kind of like a, I don't know, curved ramp, and you'll stick it underneath the I'll do the back underneath the tire like this, and you'll back up on it, and then put this in on the other side to hold it in place. And this is nice just because it allows you to level at basically any amount of height. So when you have the blocks like this, obviously you can only go up about an inch at a time, but with this you can go up any amount, so it's much easier to get perfectly level, as long as you're only off by about 4 to 5 inches or so. So another great thing that the snap pads are good for, other than leveling, is to go underneath your stabilizers. Especially if you've got metal stabilizers, it's nice to not have them tore up on the concrete. And you get more stability. Some people even stack these like 3 or 4 high, just so their stabilizers aren't down as far, and it makes the RV even more stable. Those things are honestly great to have for a number of different uses. You'll find a lot of times, just whenever you need them, they're really handy to have around. So I would recommend getting, I don't know, you don't need a ton, like maybe 6 to 8 just to keep in your RV. They're nice to have whenever you need them. So obviously being on the road full time, being connected is a huge issue, just for work purposes. So for a while we had a WeBoost, which is just a cell phone signal booster, and that worked pretty well. But we decided to upgrade to the Starlink, and it's honestly been pretty much a game changer. It is pretty expensive. I think when we bought it, it was like $550 for the hardware, and then it was initially, I think, $150 a month for the data service, and now I think that's gone up to $165. So, like I said, pretty pricey compared to the cell phone booster, which you just pay for it once, and then wherever you have cell signal helps boost it. We did a review on that, and we'll link to that either in the video or in the description somewhere. So we've had no complaints with the Starlink. Pretty much anywhere you've got a clear view of the sky, you can have pretty fast Wi-Fi, which is pretty incredible. It opens up a lot more opportunity for traveling where you want. Even if there's no cell signal, you can still get work done, still contact your family, friends, stuff like that. Obviously, there's a ton of stuff out there on Starlink. This is just a very basic overview, but we like it, and we would definitely not hesitate to tell anyone who's considering it to pick one up. So we don't have a ton of tools, but a few that we absolutely love having. The first is a drill of some sort. Saves a ton of time when you're setting up or tearing down, getting the stabilizers up, also getting those X-chocks on. That's huge because those take a lot of turns to get those tightened up. So this is really nice to have. Also a flashlight of some sort. So this is a pretty heavy duty Milwaukee one. I love this. I use it all the time. Especially if you get somewhere late at night, it's just nice to have something handy that you can put a lot of light out, see what you're doing, and get set up. The other thing that we use all the time is this Milwaukee air compressor. So this is great. It runs off these lithium batteries. You just plug it in, and it's got like a display on there. It tells you exactly what the pressure is. You just set it to what you want to go to, press the button, and it pumps it up. It's huge because if you've got 8 tires instead of 4, having this and being able to put tire pressure in very quickly, even if you're on the side of the road, you get a flat or something like that, makes it super easy to fill up your tires versus the ones that you plug into your car and it takes forever to fill it up. Also a good idea too, just to have like some basic tools. So this isn't anything special, just kind of a basic tool set. You can pick these up at any hardware store, but definitely nice to have for making small fixes yourself in the RV. Pliers, hammer, screwdrivers, socket set, real basic stuff, but definitely use this at least a few times a week. So we definitely recommend keeping one either in your RV or in your tow vehicle. So when it comes to cooking in the RV, it's definitely pretty difficult, especially in a fairly small rig like ours. We can do basic stuff like boil water, cook pasta, stuff like that. But as far as cooking anything serious, it's going to put out a lot of smoke or steam. You want to try to do that outside just so it doesn't steam up the RV, set off the smoke alarm. So the one thing that we find extremely helpful is having an air fryer. So we keep this in the truck when we're traveling, and then we probably use this at least once, if not multiple times per day. Super easy to just plug in on the outside, cook whatever you need in there. This is basically our oven, so like anything you would throw in the oven at home, we can throw in there. We also have a Camp Chef. We used to have an outdoor grill, like a camping grill that we use, and it was all right, but we weren't crazy about it. But since we've gotten this has been pretty much a complete game changer, especially this flat top grill, being able to do burgers, steaks, chicken, anything you want on there. And then it also came with this pizza oven, which I was actually pretty skeptical of at first, but it's actually been super cool being able to make pizzas at the campsite. Just allows you to kind of change things up, do something you wouldn't normally be able to do. It's not super portable, but you know, if you're staying someplace for a week or more, it's not a big deal to set up and tear down. But we really like having that. Runs off propane, super easy to use. And even if you don't get this, I would definitely recommend getting some sort of outdoor propane stove or something like that you can cook on. Because like I said, you're not going to want to be like frying a steak on a frying pan inside the RV. That's something you're definitely going to want to do outside. Another thing you don't want to forget to get is some sort of nice sturdy table. So Missy hates this table, but I love it. You can obviously see it's been through a lot, but it is still, you know, it's still standing. It still works perfectly well. And I think the fact that it looks like this is a testament to how sturdy and strong it is. It's just one of the lifetime tables you can pick up from a Walmart, Target, wherever. We'll link to this one in the description below. But definitely pick one of these up before you head to the campsite for the first time. You always want a place to set stuff down on or cook on, or basically anything that you would use your table for at home. You're going to want to have something outside like this. Also want to make sure you don't forget to bring some camp chairs with you. When we first left on our first trip, we did forget that, and it definitely sucked not having something to sit in outside. So we love these Freestyle rockers. Super nice, pretty easy to carry around with you. We just got this one. It's new. This one I think we actually stole from my parents. But it's super old and still in good working order. So I would definitely recommend getting these, or at least bringing some sort of chair to sit around the campfire or eat outside, and just nice to have. Another thing that's not a necessity but nice to have is some sort of outdoor rug to sit down. The campsite we're at now has a nice big concrete pad, so it's not as big of a deal, but especially if you're at a campsite that's really dusty or kind of rocky, rough terrain, it's nice to just throw down. And if you want to step outside without putting your shoes on or anything like that, it's nice to have. Also nice to have something to wipe your feet off on before you step inside the RV, because it can get dirty very quickly inside such a small, closed space. Another thing that's definitely not a necessity, but you might want to consider, is some sort of security system. So we've just got this Blink doorbell that we put on our RV using some 3M tape there. We've never had any issues with anybody messing with our stuff, even when we've been gone for a few days. But it is nice having some peace of mind, especially if you are going to be away from the RV for some time. Just knowing if anybody's messing with your stuff. And if anybody was inclined to mess with your RV, having the cameras there is definitely a big deterrent. And having the Starlink has allowed us to do that, because these run off of Wi-Fi. And so most campground Wi-Fi, even if it works for like web surfing, it's not going to be strong enough to power a camera full time. But if you have the Starlink, yeah, you're pretty much able to hook these up anywhere and access on your phone anywhere you have cell service. And that's been really nice since we've had these. Thanks for watching this. Like I said, I don't make a ton of YouTube videos, but when we were getting into RVing, I watched a ton of videos like this one, and I never found that everybody had everything in one place. Everybody's needs are going to be different, but hopefully this will help some of you who are thinking about getting into RVing, or maybe you just bought an RV and looking for stuff you might need. So thanks.